Hi, Romain.
Hi, Marcus. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I think probably the best thing to do is if you could just tell us a little bit about your organisation and just to start with the general thing would be great.
Community housing's been operating for probably 20 odd years in social housing. So we work with very socioeconomically disadvantaged people that are vulnerable in very many ways. And during the process of working with those people, the organisation has found that community development work is very important to bring different groups of people together, particularly when there is a cluster of homes, for example, and they're all our tenants and we're all looking after the tenants as best we can. Then when there is community unrest or there's community trauma, which is the case in West Kempsey, that's when we come in to work with the community and try and put some structure around the community's needs after doing consultations.
Yeah.
So that's
okay.
a sweeping
So,
statement.
but what's the key work that you do actually? So if you could just explain that, that'd be great.
Okay, well, for the project in West Kempsey, I think we'll demonstrate it. So if I talk about that, the West Kempsey Revitalisation Plan is a holistic plan looking at not only preschool and primary school. It's also working with a community college where the kids have been unable to continue their education through the normal school system, have gone to a community college. Now, this particular area is 95% identified as Aboriginal. Yeah. And with this particular area, there has been a lot of trauma. And with the schools have reached out to us to say they're having trouble with the trauma. And when I say trauma, it can be anything from the stolen generation to drugs and alcohol, domestic violence. It runs the gambit of those things. And of course, if the children are living in a volatile environment, they then are traumatized as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's generational, right?
It is. Very much so. So the teachers have confronted with that every day, and the school has reported that the kids are disengaged with learning, and of course then that causes other problems because sometimes they're roaming the streets. The school system itself can try and get a bus and go and collect the kids and bring them back to school. But there's all sorts of challenges in that area. So when we've looked at the trauma, we've tried to unpack that and see what it is that's preventing the kids from going to school. And it's a mix of things. So what we've put in place for next year is that we're funding some gardens for outdoor learning and to have yarning places for the kids so that we can bring in not only the parents, but bring in speech therapists and horticulture
And when you
therapists.
say yarning, you're not talking about weaving, you're talking about storytelling.
Storytelling, yeah.
Just to clarify, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm just getting the vocabulary right. Yeah. Okay. So it's really important to do that.
It is very important to be able to get parents or the carer and the children in the one place and do have a yarn up and work with them about what are their expectations with the school and with their community and where do they want to see it go and how are they going to reconnect with their community.
I've actually just been reminded of that on multiple different occasions in the last couple of weeks, the importance of just regular community connection. It is absolutely crucial. You know, I live in an apartment block And it's really interesting. We all meet because it's near a park. We all meet each other on probably a more than weekly basis, where we just bump into each other, say hello, and there's kids are playing together and doing those things. It's amazing how much harder it is to get angry with your neighbor when you actually know who they are and you've had those positive connections. And my whole career has been involved in these kind of nuanced solutions to problems, as opposed to kind of, we've got kids out of school, let's get a bus and bring them to school. That actually hasn't solved the problem.
No,
because
not at all.
All you've done is dragged people to a place that they didn't want to go to. And one of the best examples I think I've ever heard, such a fantastic example, was these huge farms that we have in Central Australia. If you wanted to fence those farms, it's millions and millions of dollars because the areas are so vast. So instead of creating fences, they build wells, and where there's easy water sources, the animals will not stray too far away from those things. So I've always loved that illustration of build wells instead of fences, because you're actually solving the need, so they come on their own instead of creating fences. And Noodle Cart is very much comes from that kind of belief. So it's
absolutely
critical to think of these things, even though it seems silly. Just a little circle. It's not expensive to create a little circle of bits of wood to sit on. But what that does is something very, very vital. And for some reason, humans are we like these simple solutions to things instead of actually thinking about what are the deep needs that need to be solved.
That's true. And if we don't dig deeper, the cycle is going to continue. And the West Kempsey project, many people, thousands of dollars have been poured into that community. No outcome. No outcome for the people that
we all know these are incredibly long-term, entrenched issues of disadvantage and land dispossession, and there's no simple solutions here. They're all long-term. They're all going to be expensive, and they're all going to be careful, diligent solutions that need to be done, not this week and not next year, but for decades.
Absolutely.
I think the great thing is that you're working at the age level where we know that those changes are easier to make in the young than they are in the old. I mean, just generally speaking, the younger you can catch children and give them those positive experiences across the board, you're going to have better outcomes without a doubt.
That's right. So alongside that garden, we're going to introduce another little program for the kids, and it's called the Worry Woos program. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but it is an emotional intelligence program for kids, so that they can actually understand when they get angry and what triggered them getting angry. They'll be able to pick up on the nuances that their friend is sad, and that might be why they've had a blue, because they're not in a good place. So when I saw the Noodle Cart, when I was doing my research for the grant that we applied for, that to me was the missing link. They need to have that journey of creative play, problem solving, teamwork, and imagination.
But also in terms of that conflict stuff, I mean, I think that what I've seen with the Noodle Cart is it does all of those things, but at the same time, it kind of creates like a little microcosm of real life. So if you're dealing with Noodle Cart parts and someone's got something that you would like, so often, say 30 to 45 minutes into a session, some of the parts start getting a bit scarce. Which is just like the stuff in your toys in your bedroom or whatever.
That's right.
It creates this kind of, almost forces this social situation where you need to collaborate, negotiate, be flexible, and do all of these things that you may
even
not
share.
have much experience of your parents modeling to you, and teaching you how to deal with a situation like that, and just on a daily basis being flexible and negotiating, and not losing your top over things that are going on. I mean, we're coming up to Christmas. I think the whole world understands how we all just need to keep a lid on some things, and just work through the process with people, because it's a lot of even just Christmas dinner is enough to set people organizing where and when and who's going to make the roast potatoes and whatever. Is hard, and modeling that to children. I'm guilty of of many misdemeanors in terms of communication, and modeling that to my children, and I'm now seeing them mimicking back those behaviors to me, and it's painful when you see them doing that, because it's very confronting when you say, you know what, they just said that's an exact replica of a sentence that I've said to them or to my partner or other things. And so the Noodle Cart creates that environment where those things can happen in a safe space and a controlled space where they're at school or whatever. Excuse me. And they don't, and you can kind of deal with those things in the moment, where in a school environment you often don't get a school environment is much more controlled and much less free often, and you don't see those traits coming out and have a chance to deal with them. So absolutely.
And see, classroom behavior is flagged as a problem because it's rigid, and it's exactly what you're saying, that you need to have that conversation. You need to create a sense of family and community of who you're with, so that we all get on and that we can learn from one another as well. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So look, I want to let you know that we've actually already made a decision about who's getting the Rover, and you are one of those people.
Fantastic.
So congratulations. We couldn't be, when we were going through the application, you guys were immediately at the top of the list. We have already done some Noodle Cart programs with in similar communities, and one of the teachers, this was in Victoria, in a fairly remote community down in Gippsland, and they said, what we've done today in the Noodle Cart is we've had kids for 2 hours self-regulating, self-managing, and we've been able to sit back and just observe this amazing thing happening, where normally we would be intervening on a minute by minute basis with a lot of the things that were going on. So my hope with the Rover is that you'll see similar work like that. We also hope that you'll be using it as a well-being and a possible cool down space type of thing, where people might just need some time in a small group to just to spend some time doing whatever's important to them, whatever their development is saying is important. If the space gets a bit chaotic, you can have a small group doing that as a separate activity in a sort of a separate space. And the great thing is you can set it up in any extra space you've got in the corner or another room, or, in a corridor or whatever. So
anyway. I've imagined them, once we've got our yarning circle, to set it up and let the parents just view the kids doing their own thing in harmony.
Yeah.
So that it would hopefully transition to the family home as well.
Yeah.
Big picture stuff, but
but Loose Parts has that effect on children. It has a natural built-in message for children that they are important, that they have something to do there, and that they can take control of their environment because they get to build it from scratch. And that's something very
unique,
deeply needed by children. I mean, that's the whole process of childhood is growing towards independence, and interconnectedness and all of those skills involved in those things. So that's really exciting for me to hear you say that. That's great. So I think, just so you know,
happy.
oh, good. Good. I'm glad. We're producing them now. So we've produced I think there's about 50 carts that have been made. And so we'll be getting that to you in first term next year.
Excellent.
Completely gratis. So we're super excited about it.
Wow. Thank you so much. I know that this is going to make an amazing transition for these traumatized children. I just think the possibilities are endless.
Thanks. Well, that is our slogan. That's well done. So, I mean, the last thing I want to recognise is that this is being made possible by hundreds of people who bought small packets of sunflower seeds, many of them in the suburb of Brunswick, which is where our office is, through a Facebook group called the Brunswick Neighbourhood Network, which was able to sort of make this all happen, which is really great. And through another company called Vativ, who through their corporate social responsibility program, they helped out with, they bought a bunch of seeds and then they've either donated or sold them to clients and other people. So really, really so happy to be sort of being able to do that. And, you know, all credit to all of those, you know, tiny individual actions, spending, I think it was $6.50 for a packet. We had all sorts of amazing stories of people who bought, even sometimes people would buy 10 packets and then put them in the letterboxes of all the people on their street. So they
Fabulous.
As a sort of an act of hope and solidarity after the last couple of tough years that we've had. And to give a point of interest for children, this originally started to give something, a point of interest for children when they were on their, you know, 1 hour exercise out of home walks and stuff. And it was such a success, we thought we'd do it again. So yeah, look, couldn't be happy, Romain, and please stay in touch and please send us pictures and videos.
You have pictures and stories and all sorts of things, because we are, as part of the process that I do, we need to implement some really strategic evaluation on what we're doing to make sure that, yes, we've listened to the community, but we are making a difference. And that the journey that we're taking people on is the right one.
Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, well, we'll sign off from here and then we'll be in touch in Feb with sort of an update of postage and stuff like that, all those exciting things. Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right, you have a great Christmas, Romain. And
I will now. You too.
And well, good on you for putting your hand up. I mean, there's a lot of people, I hope, who'll hear about this and kind of go, oh, I should have gotten involved in that. But you know, maybe we'll hopefully run one of these again one day. All right.
Excellent.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a great Christmas. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.